Coca-Cola did the World Cup Trophy Tour, which is kind of cool in that they paraded the trophy around all of Africa, which has never happened before. So it's kind of this, it's not, I wouldn't call it CSR, but it's definitely this nice gesture of, bringing this pretty inspirational thing around the entire continent and kind of acknowledging that it is an event for the continent, not just South Africa. Some other ones are cool. I mean, I like something that Castrol has done is that this is kind of an example of the low-hanging fruit sort of thing, but they partner with Grassroots Soccer, which is a U.S.-based organization that does a lot of using soccer for AIDS education, even providing testing, HIV/AIDS testing sort of opportunities for with schools and kids and all over Africa, but they're pretty active in South Africa. So Castrol, identifying them as a partner, I think is pretty smart on their part. Continental has a pretty cool program. It's really small, and I haven't heard anything else since they announced it. But they're doing they've identified, I guess they're going to identify like 26 folks from Soweto, which is probably the largest township outside of Johannesburg, to basically train them to help with their tourism efforts around like executives that come to the event. So Continental executives that come from wherever they're coming from, help be guides and provide that sort of support. But then they've said that they're going to they would hire those folks who they trained to work in South Africa. So the fact that they, not only they're doing some sort of education kind of and job training almost, they have said that they would hire those folks afterwards, which, it's a pretty small number of people, but the fact that they've recognized that there's something to do to have these people have jobs afterwards is haven't really seen much of that. I think some of the cool efforts, and this is outside of the sponsors, like I saw Nike is pretty smart, and they've done something where they sponsor the Soweto Football Association, which is kind of a youth, teenagers sort of soccer league, I guess, in Soweto, which is a huge area outside of Johannesburg. And I think it's a pretty savvy move on their part, where it gets the brand exposed to kind of kids at a younger age, but also does support and provide financial support and equipment and all that stuff to this association, which I'm sure would kind of struggle a little bit otherwise. In terms of more CSR-related efforts, I mean, there's a few. I mean, there's the One Goal campaign, which I think it was started by FIFA, or at least is really heavily supported by FIFA, but was started by Queen Rania of Jordan. And it's basically it's a campaign to really get support, votes and I guess even dollars too, but to support the idea of providing access to education to the 75 million children around the world, and in Africa and around the rest of the world, who don't have access to education. So basically, I mean, this campaign has been built to get support and has enjoyed a lot of support from world leaders, from Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General of the UN, a lot of the biggest soccer stars, and also just other celebrities who have given their support. And it's kind of to build this critical mass of support to pressure basically the leadership of a lot of the countries where access to education for kids is a problem. So I think that's pretty cool, because they're definitely leveraging the global nature of this event, and but it's one of those where it's pretty low. It's not labor intensive on the part of people supporting it. So I don't know what the kind of efficacy of it will be in the end. Another one, I wouldn't say it's cool, but Nestle is not a sponsor, but they have their Milo brand. I think it's like a chocolate youth milkshake sort of thing. But it's by what did they sponsored some sort of big soccer tournament for kids all around South Africa, kind of kind of like each school or something like that would have a team and sponsor this huge event, and help get their name out there. It also was consistent with their brand of supporting youth and healthy living and activity and that sort of thing. But now they're bringing it continent-wide. So that's one of the first ones I've seen where it really acknowledged, besides the Coca-Cola kind of trophy tour, acknowledged that this is a continental-wide event. There's going to be tons of people from all over Africa, not just South Africa, but all over Africa that's going to be seeing the event and seeing kind of all the efforts around it. So I thought that was a smart move by Nestle. Just a few others. MTN, which is that South African telecom company, one thing they did is that they acknowledged that the event, even though there's a lower price point for tickets for South African citizens, that not a lot of people it's still going to be expensive. So they're setting up big TV, like huge screens, like TV viewing stations in a lot of the townships around South Africa, so that basically people can watch the games live, even if they can't go to the games. I think that's, again, is reflective of their brand as a big telecom and sort of electronics sort of brand, but also as a really nice gesture to their kind of fellow country people. Another one I think is great is and I've written about on the blog a bunch. Got a first-hand account from a friend who actually participated in the program, but IBM, who again is not a sponsor, but they have the Corporate Service Corps program, which they just launched, I think, this past year, which basically takes IBM staff from all over the world and attaches them to some sort of project in a country where it's either working with a government agency or something to help them basically address some sort of problem they have. So it's basically just utilizing the smarts and IBM sort of thinking to try to help solve, kind of aligns with the whole Smarter Cities campaign that's out now. But they did it in the Eastern Cape in South Africa, which is one of the kind of poorer areas of the country, but was specific to working with a government-related or government tourism-related effort to to improve the infrastructure of sort of house. Let's see, what is it? So there's not a lot of hotels and that sort of thing to support tourism in that part of the country, but it is one of the locations of hosting World Cup games. So working with people to do kind of a house sharing program, so allowing tourists to stay at people's houses and they get paid for it. So helping actually support the kind of the back end infrastructure of how to get people paid and setting up the kind of tourism and booking, online booking sort of systems and all that sort of stuff. So I thought that was really cool because it was really, it's for the long run to support tourism in the area, but it's really kind of gearing up to help support that area's tourism for the World Cup.